Hello and welcome back to The Lion's Den. I'm your host Matt, as always, and I've revived. I've been revived. Yes, it's true. I sent out a little short last week. I caught the disease that shall not be named for fear of being destroyed, and yeah, I would not wish to do it again, or I do not wish anyone else to have it either. So I'm still kind of getting over it a little bit. Like this week's been fine. I've been alive and my brain works and everything. I just have this weird bit of congestion between my nose and throat. I know, TMI. Sorry. But yeah, we're having a quiet episode today because it's just, it's just quiet times. Quiet Sunday recording. Because I didn't plan ahead and record. So I'm doing this a little bit close to the wire, but that's how we like to do it, living on the edge. So let's talk about my trip to Lincoln, because that was what I was going to do last weekend. And also we're going to get some pops. I'm very sorry. I have a very scuffed recording setup to try and cut out background noises. So let's get into it. So during my time off, I had a couple of weeks off from work, which was wonderful. Although I think I discussed about the shortcomings of it, but during my time off, I thought I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to go for a day trip to a different city and explore just somewhere I've not been by myself. Like, I've been to Lincoln before in the past, but it was many years ago, and I wanted to kind of do it on my own this time. So planned everything out, figured out a driving route to get to a park and ride, which is always handy. Had some vouchers so I could go and get a meal. Thanks, Mom. That was very handy. And yeah, then didn't really have any other plan other than to just kind of walk around the city and explore it a little bit, which was kind of the idea, just not worry too much about what I'm doing and just enjoy my time there. So it was interesting because this is the first time I'd taken my new car on a significantly long drive, especially along motorways. So, because it's about an hour's drive from where I am, and it's mostly motorway driving, so that was an experience. Motorway driving is actually quite easy, and because it was a Monday and I went sort of early-ish or after rush hour, it wasn't super busy with traffic, so that was quite nice, and I didn't have to worry too hard about merging between lanes and making sure I'm in the right lane despite not knowing which lane I actually need. So it worked out perfectly fine in that sense. I messed around with the cruise control as well, because I've never had cruise control on a car. It's kind of spooky when it just takes off, because if you set it to a speed that's higher than what you're going, the car just says sure and floors it. Well, it doesn't floor it, but like it speeds up, which is very weird considering normally you're the one doing the control of the car. So, but it was very nice to just kind of have that ability to relax a little bit and not constantly have my foot down on the pedal keeping speed, because the car would just do it. So that was nice. Navigated all the way there, had some banging tunes in the car and Google Maps screaming at me every about 5 minutes to stay left or whatever. Got to the park and ride, got on the bus for the park and ride after confirming with the driver that it was indeed the park and ride bus, because it wasn't overly obvious which one was what, but figured it out in the end. And yeah, then we're off. We're in Lincoln. I had no idea where to get off the bus because the stops made no sense to me. So I just kind of got off and then Google Maps my way. And the funny thing is where I got off turned out to be basically a street tangential to the high street. So I was like, oh, I just walk over there and then I'm on the high street and I can kind of figure out where I am from that point, which was quite nice. So I just kind of wandered around, found a coffee shop, sat down and had a coffee and a blueberry muffin. Very nice, very nice. And that was the start of it, I'd kind of made it. I relaxed a bit, caught my breath after having run around like a mad person trying to figure out where I was. And yeah, just me on my own in Lincoln. It's weirdly sort of like there were a lot of people there. So it felt like I was surrounded by people. But then because I was on my own doing my own thing, I felt very, not alone, but like just kind of by myself, if that makes any sense. It didn't seem like there was a lot of people there just because I was on my own, whereas when I'm with other people, it feels like there's more of a presence of someone other than myself. This is a very weird explanation, but hopefully it makes sense. So yeah, it was nice, just kind of chilling. I've sat in coffee shops before and just had a coffee on my own, which I do quite enjoy, that kind of sensation of being near other people but doing your own thing. It's weirdly relaxing. I saw there was a weird 2-story The Works, that's a shop here in the UK. that sells kind of craft supplies, and I thought, oh, I'll go pick up an A4 sketch pad, because I've never had an A4 sketch pad, and I thought, you know what, it might be quite nice to have a bigger canvas to draw with. So went in there. The weird thing was, is like, it was basically a corner shop with the tills and everything up top and some items, but then there was a set of stairs in the corner that led to the lower floor that had much more space and much more product. So that was bizarre, because it was kind of like you went down below street level to where all of the main stuff was, but it worked, and I found what I wanted, so that was good. I think then that was when I figured out what I wanted to do next, which was go up what's called Steep Hill, and it is aptly named. I remember it from the previous times I've been there, but I did not remember just quite how steep it is. It goes like extremely steep. I can't even think of like what the percentages would be, but it's probably steeper than a 45-degree angle at some points. It's that steep, and it's really interesting because you walk up it and you don't quite realize how high you've gone until you turn around and look down it and go, wow, I've gone quite far. And it is really sort of interesting just to see it and look at it. I took a lot of photos because it was just intriguing, like the concept of your perception being completely skewed as you're going up it or down it, and then changing your perspective just shows you something completely different. It's also very odd because you just keep walking and walking and walking up this really gradually steeper and steeper incline until eventually there's just a cathedral, this just huge grand cathedral that you're just like, whoa. There's all the architecture and the stained glass windows, and it's just kind of bizarre how it just appears from seemingly nowhere. There are lots of shops though along Steep Hill, and I was sat there thinking, there are also houses and there's the shops and everything. I was sat there thinking, how on earth do you get stuff up here? Because the roads must be almost impossible for vehicles to drive up. So how do you get like an Amazon delivery up there? Or how do you get shopping? Because a lot of the stores were food-based stores, like sweet shops, or as I bought some fudge. I'm like, how do you get your ingredients up there? I just don't understand. But I mean, they must do it somehow. So I imagine the people that work there, if they don't drive, must be extremely fit, because walking up and down that hill every day for work must be absolutely extreme exercise. Like I was panting by the time I'd walked up it once, never mind the second time I had to walk up it because I was an idiot, which we'll get to in a sec. But yeah, I enjoyed just taking photos, looking at all the different shops. There was a cat cafe, which I was like, oh, had I realised there was a cat cafe on this hill, I would have booked to go. But I found out recently that they don't open on Mondays anyway, so even had I pre-known, I couldn't have booked for a Monday anyway, which is annoying. But I saw a kitty in the window, so it was fine. I got what I wanted out of it. So yeah, just once I'd made it to the top, I walked around the cathedral, took some fantastic looking shots, some kind of like Harry Potter-esque style looking photos, because it was a bit moody that day. The clouds were kind of dark and rumbly, but it wasn't raining or anything, so it was kind of interesting and had a nice ambiance. I also laughed because inside of the cathedral they had this stand that was for contactless payment, and it was literally just so you could donate £5 to the cathedral. I found that absolutely hilarious that they had these little kiosks that all it was a contactless payment to give them money for the church. I found that hilarious. But yeah, after that, it was kind of lunchtime, so I worked my way back down the hill to go for my lunch, which was weird. Like, I'd never had lunch in a restaurant by myself, but it was nice. Just kind of a little bit spooky being on your own, but, you know, it works. Had a pizza and some fancy lemonade that tasted more like cloudy apple juice than lemonade. It was very bizarre, but that was fine. And then I thought, as the last thing for the day before I head home, I was going to go up to the castle instead, because I was like, oh, there's a castle in Lincoln, that's cool, let me go have a look around that. Not realising that the castle was opposite the cathedral, which was up the hill again. So I ended up walking up the back streets of Lincoln, because I didn't actually know where it was, so I was Google mapping it, but inadvertently ended up walking up Steep Hill again, basically. So I was nearly dead by the time I'd gotten up to the castle, and was just limbering around the castle very weakly as I tried to regain my breath. So yeah, that was me being an idiot, because I should have gone to the castle after I'd gone to the cathedral, so I wouldn't have to have walked around or walk up it again. But worked out anyway. I got a lot of steps in that day. So at that point, it was kind of like late afternoon. I'd done what I wanted, had enough time there, and was thinking, yeah, I'm about ready to go home now. So I thought, right, the park and ride bus, there's a stop outside the cathedral. Cool, let me go find where that bus stop is, right? So I walk from the castle across the way to the cathedral, walk round it, find where the bus route goes, and then weep. Because the bus stop that I was supposed to be then waiting at to get the bus was closed. Why was the bus stop closed, you may ask? Why was I weeping in horror? Because they were doing roadworks. It was literally just that. They were just digging up the road right in front of the bus stop, which meant that that bus stop was no longer running. I then was very sad because I didn't know where the next bus stop was, as the map was useless at telling you where the bus stops were. So I just said, right, I'm going to have to walk to the park and ride, which was like a mile and a half. Yeah. So I ended up walking a mile and a half for about half an hour, back to my car. My feet were burning, my thighs were screaming. I'd been walking around Lincoln all day, and then I had to walk all that way back to my car, collapsed in my car, took my shoes off, and sat on my chair, letting my legs just revive for like a good 5-10 minutes before I decided to then drive home. Drive home was fine. It was just kind of like, oh, how dare you ruin my perfect day out. But no, it was fine. I was just confused because as I was walking along what would have been the bus route, I didn't see a single park and ride bus. So I was kind of confused as to why the bus stop was gone, but there was still no buses. It didn't really make any sense. But anyway, overall, I think it was a good day. I think it was fun. Enjoyed my time. Like I said, I bought some fudge and a book, sketch pad that I could have bought anywhere. The fudge I couldn't have bought anywhere though. The fudge has been really nice. I do like a good fudge. If you have the opportunity to go out, visit a different city in your local area, I'd suggest it. I think what I want to do next time is go for a little staycation somewhere, just like maybe 2 days, 1 night, or 3 days, 2 nights. That was the original plan, as I was going to go stay in a hotel somewhere because I wanted that experience. Don't ask me why. I just want to experience it as an adult. Yeah, but that will be the evolution of this, so I'd highly recommend. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed listening as I keep popping the microphone. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.